competition day comes and there's only, a few lifts that they're doing, and their ability to execute, or rather the space between how well they execute during training and how well they execute on competition day is the driving factor for who's going to win. You
Yeah.
can do amazing in training, but if you can't execute on it during competition, it doesn't really matter so much. And it's our perspective through our conversations with different athletes that the mental state that you're in and your ability to self-regulate is what's going to close that gap so that you can perform as well as you want to on competition days. So our technology is geared towards helping people close that gap and be able to perform as well as they want, stay calm under pressure, reduce that stress, stay focused in sports and in different types of athletics and in work, at home, really wherever, to kind of get to that balanced state of focus and calm. So we're working with the United States team for weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, and a few other USA Olympic teams that are starting to evaluate the product that we're working with. So my hope is that we can get this into the hands of a lot of elite level athletes, because what we've seen is the higher you go, the more important your internal game is. And that's true for sports and almost anything else.
Absolutely.
So help people do that type of training, that really important type of training. So that's what we're doing with the different Olympic teams.
I think it's amazing, and it also reminds me of something we talked about previously, and that was ultimately the transfer of lessons learned through sports. So you're talking about these unique athletes, Olympians who have to perform, who train forever, and then have a second or two to perform, talking about USA weightlifting in particular, or a shot put, a track athlete, a field athlete. And then I cannot help but think of what happens post-career. And if the only gift they've been given through the course of their athletic career is that ability to balance between focus and calm, like you said, that could be applied to anything,
right?
Professionally, your relationships, whatever it might be.
Yes.
So that's
Absolutely
incredible.
Yeah, I think there's a really strong correlation between the work that you guys are doing at the Good Athlete Project and what we're doing, in the sense of helping people gain transferable skills. And, one of the applications that we're working on is sports, and helping people do that. And then some of the other applications that we've done in the past, where we had a similar angle, was around education. So we were trying to figure out how can we optimize learning using neuroscience technology. And we kind of touched on this with the MIT study, where we partnered with them, and they had a bunch of lectures, a bunch of online learning, and they had people wearing the device. And they had a little feedback system, which was a necklace that would vibrate. So it was kind of like the same thing of your phone vibrating when you start to lose focus. And one group was getting feedback when their attention level dropped. One group was getting no feedback at all. And one group was just getting random feedback through the lectures and through the online learning. And what they found was, if you personalize the learning environment by giving people feedback when they start to slip out of focus, that your brain's engagement goes up about 85%. Your quiz scores almost double. And if you ask those participants how engaged they felt, they're 2 to 4 times more engaged than those other groups that were getting either random feedback or no feedback. So the thing that we were able to do is prove that this type of feedback in a research setting can really improve all these educational outcomes. The trick is figuring out how to scale that up so that we can apply these learnings and this technology to a lot of different people.
Right.
We try to do that ourselves, and we had some good success with the research and things like this. But what the unlock is to bring our expertise in neuroscience and research and meet it with an education organization that had the scale, had the network, had their own learning solution even, and marry those two together. So now we're working on this project that we believe will kind of change the way people think about personalized learning. And it's going to be the world's largest neuroscience personalized education platform in the world, where people will actually be able to use this at scale. So I think over the course of this year and early into next year, we'll see how that goes. But I'm very optimistic that this will change how people think about science and learning and how we can improve outcomes using neuroscience.
Max, it's going to change the world. Seriously, I think I can't believe we haven't brought this up before. It's the 2 sigma problem. Is that a familiar thing? Bloom's?
Yeah, what's that?
Really? Okay. This is so exciting to me because, so I'll try to translate the research. I haven't read the study in a long time, probably in 5 years, probably since grad school.
Mm-hmm.
The essentially what was found was essentially the secret to education in this evaluation of these student groups. And it was, what I mean by that is they took a group and were able to move outcomes 2 sigma, 2 standard deviations from the previous norm, and compared. I don't know. It's a really incredible and well-considered study. I won't give complete credit to it, but essentially what the outcomes they were able to produce, if you can imagine sort of like the bell curve of new outcomes, the folks that were on the back end of these new outcomes were outperforming the people who are on the top front end of the previous outcomes. Does that make sense at all? I wonder if people can sort of visualize that. So you have a class structured in the standard way, and there's a bell curve of outcomes. And you have the high achievers over here. By using this new intervention, they were able to move everything 2 standard deviations in the positive end, so that the people on the back end of the class are outperforming the previous front end of the class, if that makes sense. So, and it was like, and then the big reveal is, well, all you have to do is personalize the learning, essentially. And it's sort of this paradox of like, okay, we can't scale. We figured it out.
Right.
We just can't scale it.
Right.
And what you're saying makes me wonder how much of that was not just individualized learning, but I wonder if within the individualized learning, that focus also really went up, because it's not just the quality of information that may or may not be catered to you, but it's the way that you engage with the information. If we, whether are you focused on the thing that's incoming? Are you able to retain it? I think, to the previous parts of our conversation, you can have the most individualized learning possible, but if you're talking to a kid who's on 2 hours of sleep, the outcomes are not going to be that massive 2 sigma jump. So you guys have solved it. There you go.
I hope so. We'll see.
Well done.
Thanks. I'll take my bow now. Now, the funny thing about what we're talking about is, while in both cases, this MIT study, this 2 sigma study, the insight is there. Awesome.
Right.
How do we bring this into the world? Whole nother problem, perhaps even a harder problem to solve. And like I said, this partnership that we have with this education organization, they're taking some really amazing steps. And I'm really excited for the rest of this year and early into 2021, because they have a really good model. And being able to provide that level of personalization, that level of feedback based on what's engaging each student, training them to focus and relax so they have those self-regulation skills, and pairing our technology with a learning platform in that way at scale. I mean, wow! I'm really excited. It's hard to put into words the importance of those types of partnerships and relationships. When you can find someone to complement what